Welcome back to Hormones and Heels. I'm Sabrina, and today we're talking about something many women in menopause feel, but don't always understand: hormones.
1 minute you are burning up, the next you are exhausted. And let's not even get started on mood swings. What's actually going on in our bodies, and how do we tackle back control?
To help us make sense of it all, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Sandra Cohen, a nutritional therapist who's here to break it all down in a way that's simple, practical, and actually helps.
So whether you are sipping your favorite drink or finding yourself through another hot flush, let's dive in.
Welcome back to Hormones and Heels. Today we have a lot to unpack. We are talking about the hormone roller coaster. And for some of us, it can mean hot flushes, brain fog. For me, it's like not being able to remember people's names. And for some of us, it can also be symptoms like the fatigue that comes along at 3 p.m. Call it the 3 p.m. slump.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like hormones can be all over the place. I mean, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, testosterone, just to name a few. I think it's like a bigger orchestra that doesn't play the same music anymore.
So today we're going to be unpacking all of those symptoms, and we're also going to be talking about what we can do about them and how we can make us feel overall like a better version of ourselves.
Absolutely. This is exactly what we're going to talk about today. Why do we feel like that, and what happens in our body during that period of time?
So let's get started.
So
Sandra, can you explain briefly what is going on during menopause?
Yes. Shall we track back a little bit? Because before being in menopause means that you didn't have your period for 12 months, right? So it's official, you are menopause. Before that, you have a period of time that is called perimenopause, right? And during that period of time, that can last up to 10 years, your hormone starts fluctuating and declining. So it's a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, and for some women, it can start as early in their 30s. Am I correct?
Definitely.
Yes.
Even starting at 35, you have women that start experiencing like symptoms of perimenopause.
And some women don't even know they're experiencing hormone fluctuations at all until something happens, like maybe their periods change. And I think that particularly happened for me. It was then the penny dropped.
Yeah, definitely. I think like I see in clinical practice women coming to see me with so many random symptoms, and I tell them, you are in perimenopause, and they don't realize that they hit that moment, and that I'm here to tell them that they are experiencing those symptoms because their hormones start fluctuating, you know?
You're touching on something so important. I think most women haven't realized they're actually going through perimenopause unless they have, the typical symptoms that everyone talks about: night sweats, hot flushes, those type of the brain fog maybe, but
sleepless night,
right?
You have symptoms as well that are less common, like having itchy skin. I see a lot of women with itchy skin. We can touch on that in a later episode, but you have so many symptoms: heart palpitation as well, frozen shoulders, tingling in your hands or your feet. So you can have like random symptoms that you don't correlate to perimenopause.
Right.
And you think just, why do I have tingling in my hands? Why my skin is itching? Is it just because I come back from a sunny holidays? You know what I mean? Like,
and I need to put more lotion on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or I've randomly got eczema all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The one that has come up a lot in my friend circle, because we're all roughly the same age, is the frozen shoulder.
Interesting.
And none of my girlfriends realized that actually was a symptom of perimenopause. It's crazy. And I know we're going to dive into that in a little bit, and what we can do to try and alleviate those symptoms. But
we want to bring awareness to that, because I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, in UK there is 13 million of women
Yeah.
that are getting through perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
So I think awareness is essential.
And a lot of women are just suffering
Yeah, in
through
silence.
these symptoms. Yeah, in
Yes,
silence.
Yes.
For many reasons, because maybe they, you know, I think some people don't realize that, as you said, that these are symptoms of perimenopause. And, you know, we also have, you know, I don't like to call it out, but we do have a higher pain threshold than our lovely counterparts. So we do, you know, wait until, you know, something becomes so intolerable and then we seek help.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I mean, even on a personal level, I think like I agree with this threshold. We're able to tolerate so much before starting complaining or thinking I need to address that. But I think it's exactly the period of life where we gain so much wisdom and we went through so many things like having kids, pregnancies, deliveries, delivering babies. You know what I mean? Like so I think like we should be aware of the fact that this is the time where we should handle things straight away because we have that wisdom now.
So I've been doing a little bit of reading around brain fog.
Yes.
And I know, you know, it's a very common symptom. And I think everyone experiences it in different ways. You know, sometimes you'll be talking and you'll just completely forget what you're about to say. And then, you know, for me, it's like people's names.
Yeah. It's like, when you start having those symptoms, you think like, am I on the verge of having Alzheimer's?
Right.
Right? But it's not the case. It's because like there is a lot of estrogen receptors in the brain.
Okay.
So and on a lot of different organs in the body as well. So when it drops or fluctuates, because at the beginning it doesn't drop straight away, it starts fluctuating. Then you start having those symptoms, and you know we have to remember that all the hormones are signaling molecules in the body.
Right.
You know? The body goes from the body to the brain, and it's like chemicals, it's informations. And when those hormones fluctuate, whether it's estrogens, progesterones, testosterone, it's like, you know, it's like, as I was saying earlier, I take this image of like an orchestra, because like it's like this orchestra was playing classical music your whole life.
Right.
And suddenly the orchestra plays like jazz.
I was going to say pop music.
Pop music, if you want, you know, like it's not the same like rhythm.
Right.
It's not the same beats. It doesn't produce the same the same level of hormones. And then you get into that state where like you have those symptoms because like estrogen is responsible like for your brain health, for your muscles. Progesterone, it's a calming hormone. So as it's a calming hormone, it helps with sleeping better.
Right.
It helps with, you know, all the women that experience that anxiety, or they suddenly like don't have any more patience with their counterpart or their kids, because like, you know, the progesterone play a big role. And let's not forget as well that testosterone which
is the lesser spoken hormone.
because we think like
Right.
it's it's a masculine, it's a male hormone, but as women we need testosterone, right? So a lot of women that get tired or that lose muscles, basically.
Yes.
Probably their testosterone levels like drop quicker than others. You know, so it's very important for us as well.
So my question to you is, what can we do, for example, to tackle, you know, some of these symptoms, because we don't know where the fluctuations are, but we know what we're feeling. So, for example, let's talk about the brain fog or, you know, the fatigue. Maybe let's start on the fatigue. So with the fatigue, what can we do to, you know, take away some of that? Because I know for a fact that I get that. And I can't have a cup of coffee at 2 p.m. or a Diet Coke because then I'm going to be up all night.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. I think, like, I would say if we... The first thing that I would like to raise is that the way we were operating when we were younger won't work anymore today. So we have to change our modus operandi completely. So where we were able to function without sleep or without eating well won't work anymore at that period of life. So if you want to control those symptoms, you have to be quite strict with yourself, giving yourself some love.
Right.
And making yourself as a priority to be able to put in place, to change what needs to be changed. So it could be for fatigue, it could be like sleeping should be a non-negotiable.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Where before you could operate with 6 hours of sleep or 5 hours, you might not. You know? And I think as well, having a clean diet, trying to remove as much as you can processed food.
Yeah.
You know, processed food is a big one. And I think like if we can clean our diet as much as we can, and there are a lot of tips that we can give to our listeners.
Yeah.
But on the top of that, I think if you don't want to be tired, regulating your blood sugar.
That's a big one you and I spoke about.
Yes,
yeah.
it's a big one because even though you are not yet at the stage where you are in insulin resistance or you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you still have blood sugar
imbalances. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So to be able to regulate that blood sugar, you need to balance your plate, you know, with the right level of protein, carbs, and vegetables. And it's the combination of all of those elements that helps you balancing your blood sugar.
Right. I think I'm guilty of not having enough carbs.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women, you know, avoid the carbs because we think that, you know, some of us gain weight during perimenopause, you know, especially around the middle, which I've seen and, you know, I've talked about with you. And so then we're avoiding, you're smiling, so I see that you're getting excited by this one. So avoiding eating the carbs because you think that's what makes us gain weight. But you have a very, you know, you broke this out for me and it was amazing. It was like an epiphany when we talked about it.
Yeah. You know what? I think like I was part of I mean, I thought the same because I think 20, 30 years ago, we were educated with that frame of mind. Don't eat carbs, you will lose weight, right? Whereas the scientific research doesn't say that at all because carbs are necessary for the production of hormones. So if you cut that food group, your hormones will be even more all over the place. But it's about choosing the right type of carbs. It's about having like complex carbs that keep you full for longer, right? Yeah. So for example, like brown rice, sweet potato, you know, it's examples. But like it's about
picking the right ones.
Exactly. Yeah. Having the right ones. And at the same time, when you don't have carbs in your plate, then you are hungry quicker.
I feel it sometimes when I've had like maybe a salad, you know, which doesn't have the complex carbs. It has some carbs with the vegetables, but it doesn't have the complex carbs. And then you do wake up more hungry in the morning. Right?
Exactly. In the morning. But even like if you don't have carbs, I see it in clinical practice. Yesterday, I had a new client who were talking about carbs. And she said exactly what you were saying. I don't want to have carbs. I said, like, it's about changing your mindset about carbs. Because if you don't have carbs at dinner, then you might wake up during the night. Yeah. Because you are in hypoglycemia. But you don't realize that. You just say, I woke up. But it's because your body can't handle it, basically.
Yeah, that was such an important message that I took away. From you was eat complex carbs. So ladies, don't avoid your carbs. Eat some carbs, whether it's a sweet potato or some quinoa is a good example too, right?
Yes, beans, lentils, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Add them in.
Yeah.
So the other misconception is about, like working out too. Because our bodies, yes. And, I felt that in my experience, like I was starting to gain weight. So I started working out more. I was doing a cardio HIIT class with weights. And then I thought well, I actually felt like I was gaining more weight, and I was like going through this vicious cycle. So why don't you like unpack that for us and just explain it?
Yes, what happens is like, cardio is not your best friend when you start getting perimenopausal.
Right.
What you need is to build muscle, and to start building muscle quite young, even in your 30s, and to keep going with that, because the more we age, the more we lose muscle every year, right? A few percent every year.
We need muscles to support our bones.
Exactly,
Yes.
and to support hormones as well,
Yeah.
and to support our energy, or mitochondria, or small cells that produce energy. So we need to make those muscles working and working and working. We need to have more muscle mass. So it's very important to do some weight training at that period of life, because if you do some cardio, you exhaust yourself more than anything.
And I really did feel that. I was having that like 2-3 p.m. slump.
When you were exercising hard.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then I
Can
wanted to
believe it.
eat to, it just wasn't working for me.
Yeah. And how do you feel now that you stopped that?
I feel so much more energized, and I feel my body has changed.
In
Like
which way?
I feel like I have more muscle now. Like I do see some definition. But it didn't happen right away. I've been doing it now for like 6 months, I would say. And, some weeks I'm better than others, but, that's just life.
We are all the same,
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect, I think.
Yes.
It's about trying to do what we can. And even what I advise to women is even like do 10, 15, 20 minutes per day,
Yes.
or walk after your lunch or dinner with a couple of weights in your hands around the house.
The Bala weights are great for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I read recently was the New York Times has like a 7-minute workout. So there's no excuse. And it's like really simple exercises. I'm going away next week. And I think I'm going to take,
that advice.
Yeah, take
with
that
you.
advice.
Yeah.
Because I still need to keep moving.
Yeah. I use it in my own routine when I see that I can't exercise like for an hour. Then during the day, I go on walks. It's a non-negotiable after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I use weights at home, and I try to walk every hour. I do some squats, like 1 minute squat.
Do you have the Fitbit where it says to you,
No, I'm not that techy.
stand up?
No, I'm not that techy. I try to stay aware of it.
Yeah.
But I try to be mindful that I need to, if I'm in front of my computer, I want to even go to the kitchen, make myself a coffee,
Right.
do a squat for 1 minute while the coffee is getting ready, and then coming back. So trying to incorporate in your routine different things that works for you, basically.
Yeah. But overall, I think the key takeaway is that we need to be doing more weights.
Yes.
And trying to build more muscle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have to keep an eye on our muscles.
Yeah. So the other, a lot of women do experience the hot flushes.
Yes.
So what's your take on that? Because I can talk about that in terms of, what to wear to make you feel better when you're going, when you're going through it. But we also, there's some diet changes that you can also make, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think like hot flushes, the best way to address hot flushes is to regulate your blood sugar to start with.
Oh, wow. So it all comes back to blood sugar.
Yeah, to start with,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, links to hormone. But if you regulate your blood sugar and you are good with your blood sugar, you gain you manage to reduce those hot flushes considerably or reverse them.
Right.
I remember it was one of the first signs I had
Oh, really?
to have like hot flushes, but not like intense, but just like some bursts of hot flushes. So it's linked to like hormone fluctuation. But I started by like working on my blood sugar balance at the time, and it disappeared very quickly. The effect was quite quick.
Yeah. I sometimes find that when I drink alcohol,
Definitely.
I get hot flushes at night. Like I
Yes.
wake up or
Yes.
even if I'm kind of not having a deep sleep, but then in the morning I will feel, like hot and sweaty. And I'm like, oh my God. Like it's so obvious that it was the alcohol.
Yeah. Because as well, let's not forget that like our organs don't function as well as before. So the liver, that is the detoxification organ, like can become a bit sluggish. So when you have alcohol, then your liver might have a hard time to process that alcohol, and then there might be like some histamine issues without getting into any details like of mechanisms, but then your body cannot cope basically.
Yeah.
Like you used to cope before.
Yeah, and I definitely have got to this point in, now I'm 47, that I have to make that decision whether I'm going to have a good night's sleep or not. So if I have something to do the next day and I want to drink, then I'm not.
But you know what? It's the same for me. I think I cut out my alcohol. I started by cutting a couple of years ago, like the red wine.
Yeah, me too. Maybe in my 30s, actually.
Yeah. And then I used to have only white wine.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Yes.
you are at.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So get ready, because now I can only have like one gin tonic, like white alcohol.
Yeah.
And that's it. And most of the time, to be honest with you, I use non-alcoholic gin tonic. You don't see the difference. I don't see the difference. It's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Because like if I have one glass of anything, I'm not going to sleep, as you said. I'm going to have a terrible brain fog the next day.
Right.
I'm going to be tired. And I don't think, when I put that in the balance, I don't think it's worth it. For me, this is very personal. Everyone
No,
is
a lot
different.
of, actually, Sandra, a lot of women that I speak to are going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of women, our age are not drinking because it does impact, everything they feel and, the next day. And lots of women have also cut back.
Yeah. And if I drink a glass of champagne, it's going to be a day where I know that the next day, whether I don't work or, to recuperate. It's terrible to say, but that's the truth. And because you don't feel good when you are sluggish, right?
It's so sad that... Do you think men have to have these same limitations? Do you think they have to have the same conversations where they're like, I'm not going to drink today because it's going to affect my sleep?
But you want to know? I mean, I speak with my husband and he tells me that he feels as well
Same
sluggish. So it's not like because we're a woman but like he tells me that he feels like there is a difference compared to before. So... yeah, we are not alone.
Thankfully. Anyway, I'm not at that stage where I'm completely taking it out my diet, but I'm sure I'll get to the non-alcoholic gin and tonic soon, Sandra.
It's okay. I had my period of grief and now I'm fine.
So this has been great, Sandra. I wanted to ask you if you could give us 3 tips on, how to regulate our hormones or, how to reduce our symptoms through diet and lifestyle. Like, what are the 3 big takeaways that you would suggest?
3 big takeaways. I think don't compromise on your sleep.
Which means not having alcohol.
Don't compromise on your sleep. Yeah. It's a big one. Work on stress management, because I see a lot of women during that period of life where there are a lot of transition happening, whether kids leave or they get through divorce or they have still young kids and it's still a lot to handle. They are quite overwhelmed by like what the society wants from them at that period of life, without knowing that they are going through all that we are going through. So I think it's about being gentle with ourselves.
I think that's a great tip because even looking after older parents, adding that on the list too.
Yes, it's a lot of things on our mind, because we are at that period of life where our parents get older, or kids get, teenager or going to university. Yeah. And then we're in the middle, and it's as well reframing for ourselves what we want from life, because it's the positioning starts becoming different for a lot of women.
Yeah. So saying no, putting yourself first.
Definitely.
Yeah. Making time to go to the gym.
Yeah. And I think taking time and reflecting on not I think keeping the focus on what you want to achieve in life. Not staying in that wheel of I have to do this and that, and I have to commit to that, and I have my work, and I have the kids, and I have my partner, my husband, whatever it is, and then forgetting yourself, because it's not going to work.
No. And what about your last tip? Those are two very good ones.
Let's I think should I come back to that blood sugar balance, because I think it's key.
Yeah, I think so.
I think blood sugar balance is key. I mean, like, every woman is different where they are at in the process of balancing their blood sugar, but being mindful of it and doing the best, and not like skipping meals, not having breakfast. For example, it's like I hear a lot of women saying, I don't have breakfast, I go to exercise, or just my first meal is my lunch because I have to do the school run, or then it's about reshuffling your day and your mindset to be able to take the time.
Yeah, and making quick breakfasts. It doesn't have to be
exactly
like, making eggs. One thing that I've started to do, because after I spoke to you, it was clear that I was skipping breakfast. But two things that I've been making, which are so simple: chia seed pudding, with a little granola and flaxseed, which is so easy. You make it the night before, and it's just ready the next day, and you can eat it in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can add berries on top. It's a very good addition. Some nuts as well.
And then I've also been doing Greek yogurt with granola and some fruit, like especially berries, which you suggested. But it's easy, and you don't need to make time for it.
No, I think it's a mindset. When you decide that you want to do something, you find the time. And you find your organization, you organize yourself, you buy the right thing, and you do some prep in the evening if needed. But you can make it happen if you want to.
Right. But I would say it's not like the children are eating any of that.
It's a matter of trial and error, The more you tell them, at some point it will get there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sandra. That was great. I hope our listeners have taken something from this episode. I know I certainly have.
It was a pleasure to be able to share all of this with our listeners. And I hope that in the next one, we're going to talk about a lot of things as well, about hormones and how to feel, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Hormones and Heels.
We hope today's conversation gave you insights, confidence, and practical ways to support your health, well-being, and style through menopause.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it.
And if you are looking for more personalized support, we both offer a free 20-minute discovery call. Head to our website for details.
You can also connect with us on Instagram at menopause_reclaim your power for daily tips, inspiration, and a supportive community.
Until next time, embrace the change, hone your confidence, and express your style in a way that feels empowering.